Hello, everybody, and welcome to the session. So excited to have you here. Welcome to the must-have marketing tool that few businesses have, but that every single one of them needs. As an entrepreneur or as a business owner, the thing that you really need and the thing that you really want is attention, especially for your business. Now, I don't mean attention in that, hey, everybody, look at me sense. What I mean is attention is the key to getting you everything else that you want and need. And a book is what is going to get you that attention. Once you become a published author, then you are able to start to get attention. And then attention leads to you getting leads, and leads lead to you getting closed deals, and closed deals are what get you paid. And besides, if one more person asks you if you have a book, you might be tempted to give them the side eye. So by the time we're done with this session, you're going to know what being a published author means for you and how you can use that to your benefit. And you're going to know why it all matters. Specifically, you're going to know how being a published author gets you and your business attention. You're going to know how to use your book to position you as an expert and the obvious answer to your clients' problems. You're going to know how to make money without selling one single copy of your book. And you're going to know some of the biggest mistakes to avoid if you go into this journey, this adventure of getting published. You're also going to know when it's time to start writing, and then finally, you're going to get your next steps. My name is Bridget McGowan Hawkins. I get authors published faster than the competition and with results they absolutely love. If you have questions along the way, please post them in the Q&A and I will make sure you get your answers. For now, I have a question for you. Let's talk about what motivates you to even think about writing and publishing a book. Is it A? Post it to the chat for me. Post A, B, C, or whatever options I have up. Is it A, you're just poking around, thinking about the idea? Or is it B, it's just the obvious next step for your business or for your career? C, you want to better establish your credibility? D, you want to improve your visibility? Or is it E, publish a book in the wrong session? Post A, B, C, D, or maybe E into the session or into the chat rather. Just looking around. Yeah, kicking the tires. That makes sense. That makes sense. Maggie, I have a former colleague whose name is Maggie Miller. However, she spells her name with just the I, no E. That's kind of awesome. All right, so I see an A and I see a C. Okay. All of these are good reasons, and you don't have to have a perfect reason, okay? So I'm getting all of the alphabet, okay? And this is fantastic because you really want to examine your why before diving into writing a book and publishing a book. It's a huge endeavor. So let's talk a little bit about why you should even bother with publishing a book. Thank you for sharing in the chat. So why should you write and publish a book? I have 4 reasons as to why you should write and publish a book. Here's the deal. A book is a multi-purpose marketing tool. It's a unique tool with special abilities where you're able to create attention that you can turn into almost anything else you want, whether it's sales, media, word of mouth, authority. It is incredible. And here are 4 main ways that a book can get you that attention and why you should bother with one. For one, a book shows your authority. It shows your credibility and your expertise. You see, back in the day, maybe 50, 60 years ago, getting a college degree meant you had some sort of credibility, but not everybody can go to college. And so that credibility that was established with a college degree, it's not quite the same today. And then you have some people who will say that a book is the new business card. I like to call it an elevated business card. And some will say it's the new college degree for all of those reasons that I already stated. Here's the deal. If you write a good book, not only does it demonstrate your credibility and it shows your expertise and establishes you as an authority on a topic, but at the same time, it sets you up to be judged. And I know you're thinking, wait a minute, Bridget, how is that a good thing? It's a good thing because not a lot of people are willing to risk that. Not a lot of people are willing to put themselves out on Front Street, if you will. And that's how it sets you up. to show what you know, to put out to the world that you know your stuff. So if you write a good book that brings people value, and notice I'm qualifying it with good book, or even a great book is even better. But if you write a good book that brings people value, then you're establishing your authority and your credibility. Number two, why you should write a book is it raises your visibility. And for some people, it's important that they get media coverage, and that's cool. For some people, the media coverage isn't a big deal. But here's the thing. When a media outlet is looking for a comment from someone about a certain topic, they go to who? The expert. And the expert is the person who wrote the book on that topic. And experts are the type of people who write books. Commentators write blogs. Now, wait a minute, no shade toward blogs. It was my blog that led me to write my award-winning book back in 2019. More on that later. So no shade toward blogs. I'm just putting it out there. Once you have a book, media coverage is a lot easier to get. And having a book is kind of the standard in some instances, or it's that box you have to check in order to get past gatekeepers. If you're wanting to get on media pages, get in boardrooms, get in studios, television studios, special events, or get in people's minds. And think about it, how many people in your field are getting attention, getting visibility, simply because they have a book? And you're sitting there saying, I know just as much as they do, as they know. As a matter of fact, I know more and I have better ideas, but it was because they have a book that they get the call. And so being an authority and being an expert is key, and getting the word out and having that visibility comes from having a book. Number three, a book helps people find you. Here's what I mean. Amazon is the second most popular search engine right behind Google. And to make it even more relevant to business owners and entrepreneurs, when it comes to people looking for products, Amazon is one of the places that they're looking for. Amazon is in the top of the search engines that they use to find products to solve their problems. And this goes beyond just getting attention or how a book gets you attention, because an ad can get you attention. However, here's the thing. People aren't looking at ads. They're not searching or checking out ads in order to make a decision as to whether they want to buy a product or invest in a service. Absolutely not. When people are looking for buying information, they turn to the authorities. Who's the authority? Same as the media. The media looks to people who have written books, and so do your average everyday people who are looking for the solutions to their problems. So when people go searching for answers to their challenges, your book, your name, both of them need to come up in those search results. So having a book helps people find you. Not only does it build your brand, but it also attracts clients to you. And then number four, and there's no better marketing tool than word of mouth. When you are able to put those words in people's mouths, all the better. Think about it. When someone you trust tells you you should buy something, try something, go to such and such restaurant, you buy it, you try it, you go to the restaurant. If you're like me, you go to the restaurant 3 or 4 times. Anything that helps other people talk about you and talk about your business, it is a win. It's the best marketing tool you could ever have. A book enables people to talk about you. It enables that word of mouth. And this is because you're putting your story in people's heads, and they start talking to other people using your terms, your ideas, and your phrases. It happens to me. It happened to me just a couple of days ago. I got on a call with someone, got on Zoom with someone, and he immediately starts telling me things that are in my book. And we start talking about certain colors to wear on Zoom and not to wear on Zoom. It just went all over the place. And it was so funny to hear him repeating what he'd seen in my book, or at least in one of my books. So when you can get people using your phrases, oh my goodness, and talking about your services in the terms you need them to use, and people are going to talk anyway, so you may as well give them something to talk about. You're a rock star. Now, at this point, you may be thinking, but wait, Bridget, if I put everything I know and everything about my services and my processes, if I put all of that in a book, then people aren't going to want to hire me. They'll just use my book. Hold on for a second. One of my authors is on track to double the size of his business. When he put out the word that his book was due to release, all kinds of organizations were reaching out to him, wanting him to speak on their agendas about how you can, as an entrepreneur, make a real difference in communities. And that's what his book is about, making dollars while making change. It's all about how he, as an entrepreneur, does more than just try to make some money, but he also tries to create impact in the community. And he puts his whole story in the book, things about his childhood, things about being in college and how he started investing in properties. And his book positions him to be an expert in his field. He put a ton of what he knows in his book. And that's why organizations are seeking him out, and his clients and clients to be see him in a totally different light. They want to know what he knows before they hire him. And that's the point. People who hire consultants and coaches and so on, they're hiring them to teach them and their teams their knowledge. But I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. The thing is, the book is how you get them talking about you. And it's how you demonstrate for them that they should hire you, that you know what you're talking about. Now, I get it. At this point, you're probably also thinking, but wait again, Bridget, where's all this great content supposed to be coming from? Well, let's talk about that. Which one of these do you do, or do you engage in, or do you have, I should say? So do you have a blog? Do you get on podcasts, a YouTube channel, newsletter? Do you make social media posts that are really chock full of value? Do you write articles, whether you write them for other entities or you write them for maybe your own LinkedIn newsletter? Do you make presentations, speak on panels, create content for clients? If you do any of those, and if you have a number of years in your industry, you've got content. I'm telling you, that book that I created, that I was talking about, the one from 2019, it came from my blogging, from articles I had written, and from presentations that I had made. That's where the content came from, and it went on to win an award. But more about that later. So don't feel like you've got to sit down at one time and crank out all of this content. It's like, where is this coming from? You already have some great content if you have a number of years in your industry. So at this point, we've covered the 4 reasons that you should write a book. A book gives you authority and credibility and demonstrates your expertise. It also raises your visibility. It helps people to talk about you, and it helps people find you. Now, I know what you're thinking. Attention is great, Bridget. That's lovely. Visibility is nice. But I don't just want attention and nothing else. The reason entrepreneurs want attention is everything that comes along with it, right? In simple terms, again, back to what we said earlier, a book gets you attention and attention gets you money. So let's talk about exactly how that happens. How do you make money from your book without selling one copy? Before I get into that, I am going to check the Q&A and make sure that there are no questions there. Okay, perfect. Again, if you have questions along the way, anything dealing with publishing or writing a book, marketing, any of that good stuff, just pop them into the chat form. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you something that's counterintuitive. First off, your book is the center of revenue generating opportunities. That's number 1. Now the counterintuitive piece is this one. Entrepreneurs and business owners should not focus on making money directly from book sales. Really, Bridget? Really? This is the deal. I want you to think about what you want your book to do for you. Do you want your book to establish you as a thought leader? Do you want it to put you in front of your best and biggest prospects? Do you want it to boost your visibility? All of the things that we already talked about. Do you want it to establish your credibility or grow your business? Do you want it to teach others what you have worked hard and fought long and hard to do and figure out throughout your career over the years and over the decades? Figure out what it is you want it to do for you. And once you figure it out, then you're on the track to deciding how do you make money from your book without selling one copy. One way is workshops. I don't have to tell you what a workshop is, 3 hours, 6 hours, full day. This is where you take the contents of your book or a portion of the contents of your book and you turn it into an engaging in-person experience. And during that workshop, you know what happens? People are able to take a deeper dive with you into the contents from your book. And you give them exercises, and those exercises are done during the course of the workshop or outside of the workshop to extend learning. And so there's a couple of things to look at with workshops. Now, you can do all of the work yourself. You can organize it, host it, market it, all of the logistics. You can take care of that. Or you can decide to design the workshop and then you shop it out to organizations that have your ideal client, that will be able to put your ideal client in the room for you, and they take care of all of the logistics. Now, if you decide to host the workshop yourself, this is one of your business offerings, right? You have all sorts of offerings. You have an entire catalog of offerings. This is one of them. If you decide to host your workshop yourself and do all of the work, here's something I want you to keep in mind. I want you to have your book available for sale before, during, and or after the workshop. Don't assume it was your book that got them to your workshop. Some of them may not even know that you have a book. They may just join because they love you and what you do. But at the same time, there may be some who do have the book. Don't assume either way. If there are people there who already have the book, encourage them to buy a copy or 2 or 5 for their friend or for a family member or for a colleague. And then in those instances where you shop the workshop out and an organization hires you to facilitate the workshop, in those instances, I want you to ask if it's okay for you to sell your book there. Are book sales acceptable after the workshop? And you will have some who say, no, not at this time, but you will have others who may absolutely say yes. And they'll even set things up for you and may even have somebody to help you with the sales. I've had that happen for me. The thing is, you won't know unless you ask. So workshops is one way for you to make money off of your book without selling a single copy. Another way is masterminds, seminars, and retreats. Now, I have to say this, make sure, and I'll say this again, make sure whatever you choose for making money off of your book, it makes sense for you. It's something that you would enjoy. I don't enjoy a mastermind, a seminar, retreat, seminars maybe, retreats, masterminds, I don't think you're going to catch me at them. Therefore, you probably won't catch me running one. I want you to make sure you do things not because you see somebody else did it and you're like, ooh, they had success with it, I'll be able to have success with it. It has to be something that brings you joy. So with masterminds, this is where people get an extended experience with you. One example, and it can be done virtually or in person, and it can go for a number of weeks or a number of months. One example, a really good example that I know of, is a gentleman by the name of Andy Henriquez. He is an incredible, a phenomenal professional speaker. And he also is this master storyteller. As a matter of fact, I think that's kind of what he calls himself, the master storyteller. He takes what he knows and has put in his book about being a great storyteller and also the strategies that he uses on the stage with storytelling, and he puts it into a mastermind. It runs online, it runs for a number of weeks. People pay him thousands of dollars to learn this art, this craft, if you will, I guess you could call it a craft, of magnificent storytelling. And he makes a very good living off of these masterminds, okay? And they're getting this deeper dive with him where they're learning exactly what he has put in his book and that he practices on stages. So he's a great example of this. Now, these masterminds, like I indicated, can run for weeks at a time, or they can run for months at a time. There are no rules or no precise way or any kind of, I don't know, guidelines that say it must be done this way. So you decide how long you want it to run. And if you want to do it virtually or in person, you make up all of the rules. You just take your content from your book and put it into that mastermind. Now, with seminars and retreats, those are kind of like concentrated versions of the mastermind. Your seminars are going to be multi-day events at a hotel or at a they're on site at a company. Your retreats are going to take place, along the countryside in some gorgeous mansion or on the beach. And they're going to run for, maybe 3 to 5 days. Again, a concentrated format of the mastermind. And again, same example or same experience. They're getting to spend a lot more time with you, learning your methodologies, learning your strategies. Once you get this down, then you're able to just rinse and repeat, right? You're able to just take the show on the road, do it in a number of other places, or just constantly do it online like Andy Henriquez does. Then with merchandise, if your book has like this really cool jazzy title to it, or if you've got some cool theme or slogan or catchphrase that's unique to you, and let's say it appears throughout your book, this is perfect for you. It becomes really easy for you to put this merchandise idea in place. Think about glassware, pens, webcam covers, hydro flasks, folios, all of that different kind of swag, the totes that you see at conferences and such. And you may already have merchandise that you sell that has other kinds of interesting words emblazoned on it. If you think your book title would be amazing on any of that kind of merchandise, go for it. And the bonus here is with that merchandise, it's additional advertising for your book. And then there's so many other ways to make money off of your book without selling a copy of it. There's consulting, there's coaching, there's subscriptions, there are mini ebooks, video series, there are online courses, train-the-trainer certifications, the list goes on and on. So again, don't look at your book as the money-making tool. It's that hub and the spokes that come from the hub of that wheel. Those are all those different avenues for you. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this one last avenue, this one last spoke, and that is speaking engagements. That's a spoke in that wheel. A lot of times, people won't bring you onto their stage unless you have a book. And the cool thing about speaking engagements and having a book already is that you can take the content from your book to craft your keynotes, to craft your breakout sessions, to craft your speeches. Yes. And you can host these events yourself. You can host your own speaking engagements, or take the pressure and the load off of yourself and do speaking engagements for organizations that are already taking care of all of the logistics involved with putting on these events and getting the people in the seats to watch you speak. Another thing about speaking engagements, you already know, some of them will host book signings for you. Some of them will allow for books to be sold at the conference. So if they don't do a book signing, no big deal, but they may offer to sell your books at the conference bookstore, and you are able to take a portion, if not all, of the profits from those sales. And then for those that are willing to host a book signing for you, oh my goodness, and you've spoken, and then people get to engage with you further, and you can have those one-on-one conversations. All you have to do is show up with a pen and a smile and sign and autograph those books till your heart is content. But a word of caution, I guess I should say, and I've said this before, let me be abundantly clear. You've got to do what makes sense for you and what makes you happy when it comes to making money off of your book. If you're the type of person who would rather be the one who's being eulogized as opposed to the one giving the eulogy, then speaking engagements, that is not your thing. So make sure you're not dragging yourself into something that you don't absolutely love. So your book is just the starting point. It is the vehicle for creating multiple revenue streams. And just as a restaurateur will take one ingredient like a banana and use it as the basis for a number of dishes, maybe the restaurateur will use it for a parfait, use the banana in a fruit salad, or use the banana to make banana nut bread. They use that one ingredient. It starts with that. For the restaurateur, it's bananas. For you, it's your book. And one more thing to consider. A book can save you through tax write-offs. If you're using your book as a legitimate marketing tool for your business, then that is a tax write-off, just like you write off the expenses for Facebook ads or website designer. Those are marketing expenses, and you can absolutely write those off in your taxes. Anything that you use to create that book and bring that book to life, printing costs, book cover, layout, paying for a graphic designer, paying for proofreaders, editors, paying for books that you read on how to write a book or the software for writing your book. Absolutely. Now, here's the rub. Your time is not deductible. So let's say you are a consultant who charges $200 an hour and you spend 500 hours working on your book. Well, you cannot write off that $100,000 in foregone income. It's a real loss to you, absolutely, as a business owner. However, you cannot write that off, what maybe you could have earned if you weren't working on your book. But what you can write off is any kinds of services that you enlist, like a ghostwriter or a writing coach, to get your book to market. That is deductible. And this is a reason why so many people use our services at Press 49. Even if they can write the book, they've got the chops, they don't have the time. So even if they can write the book, they love working with us because we have the writing coaches and the ghostwriters who will get in there and get a lot of the work done for them. That time now can be spent in their business, doing what they love and doing what they do best. Now, a quick note. This is what my CPA and my lawyer have told me. You should never take legal advice from someone who's had only a year and a half of law school. And not only that, I'm also from Texas. And in Texas, it is legal to shoot wild hogs with a machine gun from a helicopter. Yeah, we're different. So at this point, you're likely thinking of how in the world are you going to get this done? You're probably a little bit more fired up, but then you're thinking of who you can hire or how you're going to get this happening and the ball rolling. Makes sense, but hold on, not so fast. Let's look at a few of the biggest mistakes that I see people make before you dive into writing your book. One mistake is going to be trusting your grammar whiz friend to perform edits on your book. So in the chat, I need you to type the letter that corresponds to your answer. Do you believe that all editors are equally created? Is it A? Yes, absolutely. B, of course not. C, yes and no. D, I'm not too sure. Or the second D. We'll make that E. Hold off and see what Bridget says. Let me see what we have in the chat. Okay. Oh my goodness, this is so wild, the names in here. So LaTarsha Cook, I have a sorority sister named Latasha Cook. Okay, so I'm getting B's. Okay, everybody took a sneak peek at my slide deck before I got in. You all win a prize. A lot of people are unfamiliar with the various types of editors, and that is okay, because let's be very clear. How many different kinds of positions are there? How many different types of architects are there? How many different types of anything is out there? Authors generally will ask about editing or needing to get their manuscript edited or what have you, but they don't necessarily know the different kinds of editors there are and the kind of work that they do. They just know they want their manuscript to read nicely, they want it done right, they don't want any mistakes. So I'm going to tell you there are more or less 3 different types of editors, and they can work from the macro level to the micro level. So let's get started with the first one. And I'm not going to get too deep, so don't get the glazed donut look on me. We're not going to get too deep into the weeds, but I want to give you an understanding of the 3 types of editors out there before you dive into this idea of moving forward with your book. Now, at the macro level is a developmental editor. This type of editor is going to look at the manuscript as a whole, and this type of editor is going to assess for cohesion, organization, Does the manuscript make sense? Is it clearly written? Is it easy to read? Is it an enjoyable experience? They're looking at the big things. They're not looking to make sure words are spelled correctly or that commas are in the correct place. That's premature at this point. What we're looking at is this storyline making sense? Are the chapters in the right order? They're asking questions such as, is there a hole in the information? Is there some idea that needs expounding on a little bit? That's what they're looking at. A lot of times when people go to editors, they're wanting them to do that plus what the next type of editor does. Before I get into the next type of editor, let me say this. With developmental editing, it's quite extensive in nature and it can be time consuming. For that reason, this type of editing is more expensive than all of the other types. Now let's get into copy editors, line editors, and mechanical editors. They're not quite exactly the same, but they perform similar types of editing. Again, not getting too deep into the weeds here, but with a copy, line, or mechanical editor, they're looking at the manuscript at the line level. They focus on word choice and spelling and grammar and punctuation and making sure word order makes sense. They're looking at the manuscript not on a whole, but they're looking at it on a chapter level, a paragraph level, and then on a sentence level to make sure everything lines up. But they're not looking at the whole manuscript. They're not reading it from front to back and then giving you the kind of feedback that a developmental editor would give you. With this type of editor, they are asking questions like, would this sentence be more impactful if it was rewritten? Would these two paragraphs connect a little bit better if there was a transition before the second paragraph? Does the third sentence in the fifth paragraph need to get moved to the fourth paragraph? That kind of stuff. And then when they're looking at grammar and mechanics, they're asking things like, is this comma in the right place? Is this the correct spelling? Is this a run-on or a comma splice? They're fixing things like that. Do all of the subjects agree with their verbs? Are there any misplaced modifiers or dangling modifiers? They also should be well-versed in the most current edition of the Chicago Manual of Style. There's mine right over my shoulder, that really thick blue and orange book back there. They should be well-versed in that. It's over 1,100 pages in that puppy. And that is the standard. It's almost the Bible, you might say, for US book publishing. It covers things like, is the title of a book underlined or is it italicized? Which numbers do you spell out in words in the manuscript and which should be presented as numerals? I mean, I could go on down the line. There's so many different rules and you want an editor who's well-versed in those. Some developmental editors are, some are not. Line editors, mechanical and copy editors, they tend to be relatively well-versed in that Chicago Manual of Style. Now, with this level of editing, it is less expensive than developmental editing, but again, as you can see, it's a different skill set. Then with proofreaders, they are going to be your least expensive, but they're also the last ones that you should go to. They're the ones who are looking for anything that was missed from the previous line edit or the previous copy edit. These are the ones where you don't go to them until your book is just about ready to take to market. You've made sure that all of the ideas make sense. There's no gap in the information, grammar and punctuation have been checked. Punctuation has been checked. All of that has taken place. And with proofreaders, they're just checking to make sure that if the table of contents indicates that chapter 3 starts on page 59, it does indeed start on page 59, and a lot of other little small things. Proofreaders tend to be the least expensive of all of the types of editors, but again, look at what it is that they do. So the mistake to avoid is trusting your Grammar Whiz friend to perform your edits. The bottom line is know the different types of editing and editors there are, as well as the kind of editing you're looking for at the different stages of producing your manuscript. Now, it doesn't matter the route you take. Oh, let me stop for just a second. I have a question. Lisa asks, how many book pages at a minimum are required for a book to be considered a real valuable book? So in order for your book to be able to get sold on sites outside of Amazon. So in order for your book to have wider distribution beyond Amazon, I believe the book needs to have at least 112 pages. I believe it's at least 112 pages in order for you to be able to sell it anywhere but Amazon. So I guess you could consider that a real viable book. It's kind of a subjective answer, you know what I mean? But I would ask you to lean on about 120 pages at least. 112 is kind of your minimum, at least 120 pages. And bear in mind, 120 typewritten pages is not the same as 120 typeset pages, right? So like, for instance, one of our authors, I believe her typewritten manuscript may have been, it was definitely, oh, I wish I could remember. Anyway, the number of typewritten pages ends up being fewer than the number of typeset pages. So one author, let me see, I believe Debbie's book, we just published her book last month. Her book is 175 pages, but typewritten, it probably was maybe 130 or 40 or something like that. Look at word count as well. And oftentimes that's what publishers and publishing partners are going to ask about is word count. Look at word count. You're really going to want to have yourself somewhere around 25,000 words or better. Is an ebook just as viable? Let me just kind of answer that without answering it. I'm going to recommend that not only you have a paperback book or hardcover book, but that you also have an ebook. And it needs to follow kind of those same guidelines where you make sure that you have content, like real content. And I'm going to ask you to lean on at least 25,000 words. Don't worry about page count, because page count is going to fluctuate depending on the size of the paper. Are you doing a 6x9, a 5x8, a 5x7, right? Don't worry about size, because that's going to change. Worry about word count. And I'm going to ask you to lean on 25,000 words. The more, the better. All right, fantastic questions. Let's move on. Another mistake to avoid is knowing that you need to get that is not needing to get an ISBN. You know you need an ISBN, but using the free ISBN from Amazon, you don't want to do that. Do not take the free Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing International Standard Book Number. Do not take that, because when you do that, the only place you'll be able to sell your book is on Amazon. Now, if you plan on just selling your book from the trunk of your car, well, perfectly fine. Don't worry about getting an ISBN at all. But if you want to publish your book somewhere other than on Amazon's site, like if you want it on Barnes & Noble's site, Books A Million site, any of the other sites, Apple Books, then you need to purchase the ISBN yourself. And let me be very clear, if you work with a publisher, you don't have to worry about that, because a publisher will take care of getting your ISBN for you. Now, yes, you can later on decide I want wider distribution, so I am going to get myself, I'm going to go purchase an ISBN, but like Mom told you, there's always a catch when it comes to anything free. There's no such thing as a free lunch. There's usually a catch. Like I said, you can get that free ISBN. You could only sell your book on Amazon's site. Yes, you can go later and buy another ISBN, and then you can put your book not just on Amazon's site, but on other sites. But things start to get muddy and complicated when you have more than one ISBN associated with your book title, and you don't want to do that. Just as you don't have multiple Social Security numbers associated with your name, you don't want a bunch of different ISBNs associated with your book title. So just do it right from the start and purchase your ISBN, or better yet, work with a publisher and you don't have to worry about all of that. They take care of it for you. Another mistake to avoid is determining which publishing partners are reputable. No, I'm not about to launch into a commercial. I'm about to give you 6 areas where you will be able to determine if working with a contractor, an editor, a graphic designer, or whomever is reputable in the publishing industry. The first one is going to be in the area of service. Find out their commitment to openness, accessibility, being authentically helpful without any kind of a further agenda. They truly want to see you and your book succeed. And you want to ask them questions that get at that. You know, how do you support me after the book is published? What are the things that you're going to do throughout the process to make sure that I am taken care of? The second area is going to be leadership and excellence. Are they just going to do whatever you ask? Or are they going to say, that's a good idea. Let me tell you based on my expertise what I think you should do, and then you can make up your mind. So do they operate from an area of leadership and also holding themselves to a level of excellence, whether it's editorial excellence, design excellence, production excellence? Number three, what kinds of standards do they have? Do they uphold the highest standards in the industry? Do they accept everybody? Do they publish any and everybody? I've had to turn some people away. I had somebody who went straight left on me when I indicated that I didn't think it would be a good fit. When it comes to standards, do they publish contents or books that encourage hate? Do they publish books that encourage oppression, discrimination, violence? Find out all about that. And do they work in integrity? Make sure they're not misleading their readers or misleading their authors, and that the contracts are written in clear, easy to understand language, and that it's not a situation where they tell you the price is going to double if you don't make it a decision within the next 24 hours. Yes, there are some industries, I guess you could say, or some service providers who have that kind of standard or who have that kind of expectation. But with publishing, this is a big undertaking. This is a big investment, and this is important. You should have time to review the contract and ask any questions that you have. And then, do they operate in a place of inclusivity? You should be able to look at either their roster of clients, authors, or the team members that they work with and see yourself in them. Do they publish people from a variety of backgrounds and a variety of viewpoints? And then, do they engage in professional development? How do they grow and stay current in the industry? All of these standards are taken from the Independent Book Publishers Association. They serve and lead the independent book publishing industry. And if you work with a service provider or publisher who is a member of the IBPA, then that is a good sign that they do indeed have those standards. So Lisa asked a good question. Once you determine what you want to write about, what is the very next step? I need help without getting overwhelmed. Do I reach out to a publisher? Lisa, what you're going to do is you're going to have a no obligation call with me. I'll give you the link at the end of the session. The next step is to talk with the publisher so you can get the ball rolling. So that mistake to avoid is to make sure that you know that all publishing partners are not equally creative. One more mistake to avoid is ignoring all the signs that it's time to write and publish. Type in the chat how many years of expertise you have. Do you have up to 5 years, 6 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 or more years, A, B, C, D, or E? No comment. You're not going to have me letting folks know how old I am up in here. And seriously, Lisa, I want you to have a call with me because that's the next step. You can start the conversation before you even have a completed manuscript, but start the conversation as soon as possible. That's incredibly important so you can get that ball rolling and get your book done. All right, so I've got 11 to 20 years. Yeah, you definitely want to get going. Yeah, 6 to 10 years, anybody. Yeah, start the conversation, All right, so here's sign number one. People already love everything you say and do. I'm telling you, your social media posts are blowing up, your inbox is blowing up, your DMs are blowing up. You could, not that you would, post a picture of a head of lettuce on social media and people would eat it up. No pun intended. But no, like your posts on everything that you do is getting all kinds of reactions. People love what you say and do. It's time to write your book. Number two, you see gaps in what's already written, or you're wholly unimpressed with what's already out there on the market. You know that your solution is superior. Number three, you're tired of seeing people make mistakes, and you know if they had your solutions, they could avoid those mistakes, but all they need is your proven process. Number four, your ideas are getting too big for your current platforms. It's like a bubble they're about to burst. A blog post isn't enough. A newsletter isn't enough. An article isn't enough. A selfie on the gram isn't enough. You need one place where you're able to put all of your ideas, and that one place is your book. Number 5, you are darn good at what you do, and the world needs to know it. Your loyal fans already know it, but you need to put it in a book so that you can reach more people and they will know it too. And then number 6, you're looking for the next big thing. You have one of those been there, done that types of resumes. You have checked all of the boxes, and this is just the obvious next step for you. And besides, all of the signs around you are pointing to the fact you need to write a book. For me, the sign came when I decided to do something outside of what most people know me for. Aside from being an award-winning publisher, I'm also an award-winning international professional speaker. And as a speaker, as you can imagine, I'm always at conferences. So I ended up pulling from my blog, pulling from my articles, pulling from content in my presentations, and I wrote my book, Real Talk, back in 2019. It's now in its 2nd edition. I ended up going to a conference in DC, and there's like 14,000 people at this conference. And not only am I a speaker at this conference, but so is Oprah. I deliver my presentation to a packed room. There's probably about 500-600 people in the room. A lot of the people leave out of the presentation after I finish. Several people linger back and talk with me. You know how it goes. A lot of those people came trickling in, the people that had left, and they said, Bridget, your book's not in the bookstore. I said, hold on there. Yes, it is. I got off the plane yesterday, went to the bookstore, checked to make sure it was there. I even went today before I came to do my session. That book is there. They let me get my spiel out, and they said, no, Bridget, calm down. The book was there. It's sold out. We're wondering if you have any extra copies on you. That was in May of 2019. I still speak at that conference. As a matter of fact, it was held in San Diego, and I spoke at it this year. Now they hold book signings for me. The book always sells out. They have me on their main stage, and that was 4 years ago in 2019. I have people contact me. I share with you how somebody, I was on the phone with somebody the other day. They're repeating words from my book back to me. I have people reaching out, wanting me to come teach their sales reps and teach and train and coach members of their marketing team based on what I've put in that book. And so now, by having a book, actually I have multiple books that I've written myself. But whenever I have a book and someone asks me a question, I just point to Real Talk. Or if they want to know how to start a speaking business, I point them to my first compilation book, On the Microphone. If they want to know how to be a dynamic communicator, I point them to Show Up and Show Out. And if I happen to have a copy on me, I will just autograph it and hand it over to them. Listen, the world is waiting on your book. What are you waiting on? It's time to get started. So your next steps are schedule your complimentary call with me. No pressure, no obligation. Let's just talk about your book, talk about your idea. Go to callwithbridget.com/press49, and let's get you on the road to being published and having that must-have marketing tool. Thank you.